Fabulous. So just a quick introduction to the session. So the reason we're holding these and inviting you along to these is that, well, really to start with, we've got a big pot of money that we'd like to spend. We have around £450,000 in a pot that is only we're only able to use for apprenticeships. It's our own money, and if we don't spend it, we lose it. It goes back to the government. More importantly, we would also like to develop our teams and use this money just to be able to do that. Meg is really keen for her teams, within her restaurants to use this pot, and really is keen on promoting the apprenticeship schemes that are available. They could be for you, or they could be for people within your teams. So Paul is from a company called HIT Apprenticeships, who deal with hospitality sort of focused industries. So he's going to lead the session and talk us through, giving us an overview of kind of what we mean by apprenticeships, what is available, how does it work, and hopefully also just sort of squash any myths and negativity around the apprenticeship schemes that are available and how they work. So we've got 45 minutes scheduled in. As I say, Paul does need to nip off just before 11 o'clock. If you do have questions as we go through the session, feel free to pop them in the chat if you like. We probably will save questions to the end, though, just to sort of help kind of keep the session going and not lose momentum. So just bear with us. If you've got anything pressing, pop it in the chat or just make a note of it. And then if we haven't answered it by the end of the session, please just make sure that you flag that. So I'll hand over to you now, Paul.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. As Sarah said, I'm Paul and I work for HIT Training. I'm the account manager here. I've worked in apprenticeships for over 10 years. Half of that time was spent in account management, working across different sectors. A lot of that time spent working with other hospitality brands. The other half of my time in apprenticeships, I was a coach. So I delivered health and social care qualifications myself. But more importantly, I was an apprentice. I've done 2 apprenticeships myself and probably owe my career to apprenticeships. So I'm quite passionate about it and really excited to present to you today about the offers that we have for HIT for your organisation. Sarah's quite right. The levy does expire every 2 years. Funds that haven't been spent in that time frame do go back to the government. It was about £2.3 billion that went back to government last year in unspent levy funds, and unfortunately, it does not get reinvested back into your sector. We don't know what happens to it. We know it doesn't get reinvested. I'm sure the local council governments are finding other ways to spend it, but it's not being reinvested where it has originally come from. So look, it's not all about just spending that money. Like Sarah said, it's about developing your teams. And I've got some statistics for you that I carry around in the top of my brain. 87% of people that complete an apprenticeship do progress in with their career. So they do tend to go on to do, if they've done level 2, they go on to do a level 3 or a level 4, and they do progress and get promoted within house. Another 89% of people feel that it actually improves their career options. So people that complete the apprenticeship feel that it's improved their employability. So it's worth investing in people's time. It's a well-known fact that investment in people's learning and development retains more people within the organisation. So without further ado, I'll talk you through HIT's offer to BRG. So today I'll be covering hospitality apprenticeship programs, of course. I'll be covering some back of house, front of house, and some of our leadership and management programs. So in terms of front of house, I'll be covering hospitality team member, which is our level 2 program. This particular program has different pathways. So we understand that everybody that works in hospitality may not do the same type of job role at that level. So it could be that you are a barista, or you are working in conferencing or events, or you're working as a concierge, or you're working in food and beverage. So there's different pathways within that. So given the business that I'm speaking to today, hospitality team member, food and beverage is probably the best pathway for your teams. I'll also be talking about hospitality supervisor, which is exactly what it says on the tin. It's for those people working in team leader or supervisory roles. I'll be talking about back of house qualifications, including production chef, which is those who work in the brigade as a line cook, and the senior production chef, which again is those who kind of do supervisory or team leader roles back of house, and then our leadership and management qualifications. So we have the hospitality manager level 4, which again comes with different pathways based on the job roles that people do. There is a food and beverage pathway, but there's also a multi-function pathway, as well as things like concierge and conference events. Now, these level 4 hospitality manager programs are fantastic. They are really ideal for those who are stepping into or in deputy manager type roles, but also for those who might be in a general manager role who's not quite ready for doing a level 5. Some of the topics that are covered in a hospitality manager level 4 are very similar to stuff that will be covered in a business degree, which is around a level 7. So you're really getting your bang for your buck, the value of your pounds for doing these qualifications. And the fact that these come out of the levy, these qualifications vary from anywhere between £5,000 to £8,000. So you think the investment that you're putting into your staff member and the essentially free training that your staff member is getting in terms of there's no cost to them is absolutely fantastic. And then we also have the operations manager level 5 qualification. Now, this is delivered by our company HIT, but we have different brands within a company. We have HIT Training, which deals with hospitality, Connect to Care, which deals with our care qualifications, but EDN is our executive development network, who delivers our operations level 5 qualification. Now, there are some recent changes. So it used to be operations departmental manager level 5. We no longer accept applications for that qualification as of the 13th of September, because coming the 19th of September, the qualification has changed. So any applications for the level 5 qualification will be the new operations manager level 5 qualification. Essentially what has happened is the old operations departmental manager qualification was very managerial based. It was very about working with a team, developing a team, dealing with day-to-day stuff. Because of the level 5 and the level that it's at, they've changed it to more organization and business strategy, things around risk management, marketing, financing. So the qualification, what you're getting now, again, is more akin to a degree. The qualification and the concepts and modules and theories that you'll be studying in this qualification are quite vast and very, very useful. And it also opens up sort of your knowledge, your understanding of the sector as a whole, as operations as a whole. So I think you're getting a lot more with this particular qualification, and it's a very exciting time to join with that particular qualification as well. It's not cohort driven, it's roll on, roll off, so you can join the qualification at any time. But there are interactive online workshops as well, so you can attend like these online classes with a sector expert, which gives you an opportunity to rub elbows and network with people in similar positions to you, perhaps, but different sectors and different brands. So I will go into these qualifications a little bit more detail. That's just me waffling on. So before I do so, I'll tell you about our delivery model. Now, I'm fairly new to HIT training. Like I said, I worked in apprenticeships for about 10 years, but I've been with HIT for about 4 months now, and I've been absolutely blown away by the delivery model. In fact, I was aware of their delivery model before coming to HIT, and that's the reason I wanted to come to HIT and why I applied. They are keen on their promise to face-to-face learning. As you know, COVID affected all the ways that we work. For instance, now I'm presenting to you, and you're all in different areas of the UK via Teams. The same thing happened to apprenticeships. During COVID, everything went remote and online, and a lot of apprenticeship providers after the fact continued that. However, there was a drop in engagement, there was a drop in quality of teaching, and HIT recognised that, and they've kept their promise to continue with face-to-face learning. So what that means is your vocational trainer, as they're called here, will visit your apprentice every 4 to 6 weeks at their place of work. Within that visit, they'll do some feedback. So in between the visits, they would have given some self-learning to do. So they'll be feedbacking on some of the essays or assignments that they've written or any project work they've given. And then they'll go into teaching and learning and assessment. So they'll teach them some new things, assess them in the workplace by looking at product evidence, speaking to their managers, observing them complete tasks within their job. And then they go into the planning. So the planning for the next session based on what they've been taught today. This is what I expect you to do in terms of your self-learning, your independent learning while I'm gone until your next session. Yes, we do some remote teaching, We have something called knowledge bites, so people can go log on and interact with their work online. There could be some webinars to watch, there could be some things to read, some things to interact with. We also offer interactive online workshops as well. So those sort of classes in between visits as well, where if someone's struggling with a particular topic or module, they can join a class and hear from one of our online teachers. So that's how our training is delivered. The people that deliver our training are experts in their field. To be a vocational trainer, you have to have, a CV as long as your arm of the sort of industry that you've worked in and the jobs that you've had, but you also have had to do the qualification yourself as well. So these people are not only experienced in the role, similar to the person that they're teaching, but they know what it feels like to go through an apprenticeship too. And some of the chefs that we have working with us for our Chef Academy are absolutely fantastic. I've been out to a few Chef Academies, spoken to a few of the chefs, and I was expecting them to say, yeah, I worked in a few kitchens. But what I wasn't expecting to say, yes, I run a few pubs, I run a few restaurants, I've won a few awards, I've won these competitions, and actually, experiencing their food as well, they are absolutely blinding. So it's a real honour for anyone on apprenticeship with HIT to be working with those. And time frame. So an apprenticeship can vary depending on the level, of course. The level 2s are usually around 12 months. The higher levels are about 24 months, but there's always an extra period for EPA. So the diploma takes 12 to 24 months, but we allow 3 months for them to pass their endpoint assessments. Now, it's not to say they have to take the whole 3 months to do that. We've had people finish their diploma on day 365, day 366. They're sitting their endpoint assessments. By that week, they've passed. It depends how studious and keen they are, but we do allow them that time. So that's how the apprenticeships are delivered. There's been a few changes over the years. Back when I was a coach, it was just frameworks, which was a tick box exercise, literally going out there going, yeah, they know this, yeah, they can do this. Congratulations, you can do your job. Here's a certificate. The teaching and development of people now is really impactful, as well as some of the other components of an apprenticeship, including off-the-job training and functional skills. Probably worth mentioning functional skills as well. All apprenticeships still come with functional skills. If people have acquired previous certificates, they can forego doing those functional skills. If they haven't, it's a great opportunity to get those maths and English qualifications they didn't have perhaps get at school or college. I know I failed spectacularly at school, so the opportunity to do maths and English again for me was a real achievement, and I think I still apply to every day. It supports employability. All of our tutors are also capable of delivering English and maths, so they can wear many hats. Okay, so the other aspect I mentioned there was off-the-job training. Some of you might be familiar with it. Some of you might be thinking, what does that mean exactly? And you're not alone. The phrase off-the-job training has confused many people through apprenticeships, this side of the fence and that side of the fence. In fact, a few years ago, I know a lot of providers were putting in a white paper as government to get that changed. And they wanted to change it to job skills instead, which was my idea, actually. So I thought job skills, functional skills, that makes sense. If I was to say to you job skills, that makes sense. Skills for your job. So we'll see if that change comes about. But at the moment, it's still off the job. So basically what that means is any time that's spent at work being paid that's off your normal job. So you're away from your normal duties and tasks. So an apprenticeship is made up around anywhere between 312 and I think 374 hours of off-the-job training. If you divide that across the months that they're on program, the weeks that they're on program even, it averages out to about 6 hours a week. So when someone's on apprenticeship, they need to do about 6 hours a week off the job. Now, that does sound like a lot, and that is just an average rule of thumb. It could be that 1 week someone spends 16 hours a week off the job because they've done 2-day courses that they've been away for BRG. Or it could be that they've spent only 2 because they've had a really busy week and it was the middle of August and it was school holidays. It's just about getting those off the job hours done as a total on program, but just as a rule of thumb, it's about 6 hours a week. Now, a lot of you thinking, how am I going to find 6 hours a week to pay my apprentice to do things outside the normal job? But don't panic. My experience is a lot of your staff members are already doing this. If they're doing a supervision, an appraisal, e-learning, in-house training, perhaps they're learning a new menu item or the items on the till and they need to find it, or they're shadowing someone especially those new people who are new to the business. There's so much training that they go through. It could be that actually they're training someone else. It could be that someone's shadowing them because maybe they're not a new member of staff. In that sense, they are the mentor and they're learning how to mentor people. So that's a new skill they're developing. So when you start adding all these things up that they always do, it quickly calculates that they're doing about 6 hours a week off the job training as well. There may be times that you need to find a few more hours for them to do off the job training, but this is where it's for your benefit. If you've got a member of staff who's on an apprenticeship and you need to find them time to develop their skills, they can help you out. It could be that they can do a task with you, then you can support them to show them how to do it, or then they get quite good at that and then they can support you do it and there's less things for you to do. Or maybe they take more of a supervisory role in their job and they're supporting more. Or it could be quite simply finding time for them to sit in the office and spend an hour and a half after their shift that's paid for them to do their apprenticeship. It could be that they need to brush up on their policies and procedures, so you give them some policies and procedures to read. It could be that they're working a shift that's not their normal shift pattern. Perhaps they usually work in the afternoon and now they're doing a Saturday evening that they've never done. That's new. It could be dealing with a customer complaint that they haven't dealt with. The list goes on and on and on. My top tip is if you've got someone on apprenticeship, just make sure you record everything that they're doing. Not you personally, but you can just inform them that keep a notepad in your back pocket. Whenever you've done something that's new or you experience something new, pull out the notepad, write it down. 50 minutes here, 10 minutes here, those start adding up amongst the week. Your vocational trainer that's working with your apprentice will support you with this. They'll sit down every time they visit you and say, look, let's talk about some opportunities for off the job. I've got some ideas. Let's hear your ideas. Let's get them doing this. So, you're not alone. It's not something you have to run by yourself. The coach will support you with that. Okay, so enough about off the job because I've only got limited time and I could talk about off the job forever. So the programs, the bit that you're here for. So hospitality team member level 2, which is the entry level program for front of house. This is ideal for those working as part of a team in customer facing roles. Some of the topics that they'll cover on this program is an introduction to hospitality. So you will be talking about the sector as a whole. It will be talking about customer service. It will be talking about policies and procedures and legislation. It will be also talking about whatever the core values of your organisation is as well. So they become better at understanding what it is that your objectives of your particular site or your particular organisation is trying to achieve. They'll cover people as well, which is talking about the customers themselves and people that they're working with. They will touch on team leading, although it's not team leading qualification. It's important for them to kind of sort of touch on those bits of knowledge first, so if they do want to progress to team leader afterwards, it helps them understand how to develop other people in the team, especially if they're not a new member of staff. Maybe they're on apprenticeship and they've worked for you for 6 months to a year. They'll learn about customers, dealing with complaints, upselling. They'll also do specialist modules around food and beverage as well, if they do the food and beverage pathway, which I'm sure they will. The hospitality supervisor level 3 is for those in supervisor or team leader roles in front of house. Again, they'll cover very similar topics, including people, team leader, customers, and food and beverage modules. However, the expectation is that they'll understand a little bit more and be able to give more in-depth knowledge. So, for example, if I was working with someone at level 2 and I asked them what some of the legislation is, and they said, it's RID or it's Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, just the titles of those would be enough. I go, tick, you've answered those questions. If I'm talking to a level 3, I want you to tell me about the Health and Safety Act. I want you to tell me about RID, or I want you to know what happens next if you have to deal with an incident that's happened. I need more in-depth knowledge. But they'll also start learning things about the business. Again, organizational structure, strategy, marketing, upselling. And they'll start learning about those things in order to prep them for sort of career progression or moving on to a higher level. And of course, there's a module around leadership. Now, both of these qualifications take 12 months and both have a duration of 3 months for EPA, which is endpoint assessment. Endpoint assessment is basically the assessment that they do at the end to see if they will achieve their qualification with a pass, merit, or a distinction, which is really, really valuable to them. If you're going for a promotion, you can sit in front of your employer and say, not only did I finish your apprenticeship, I finished with a distinction. That's very, very powerful. So for these qualifications, they will do an on-demand test, which takes about 90 minutes, which is multiple choice. They can do this with their vocational trainer, so they'll be comfortable in a sort of test kind of situation. They'll do a practical observation, so they'll be observed in the workplace. Again, they'll be really comfortable with this because they've been observed for the entirety of their qualification. They'll do a professional discussion, which is a 45-minute discussion, and this is not Q&A. They're not having questions directed them or fired them. It is a conversation where they can talk about their job role and what they've learned and kind of just part on some of that knowledge that they've got over the apprenticeship. And then for the level 2, they'll need to do an 800-word business project, and for the level 3, it'll be a 2,000-word business project, which starts before endpoint assessment. So they'll start working on it. It's just that they present it at endpoint assessment. Now, the business project is for them to create something that could be quite impactful to the business that they work in, that can impact some changes. So it could be a new upselling technique, maybe some new marketing, maybe a new recruitment attraction piece, could be about waste management, lowering CO2. And it's just a scenario. You don't have to apply this to the workplace, but 9 times out of 10, I find that when people have submitted their EPA, the business goes, that's brilliant, we're actually going to do that. So it's a real confidence booster, and there's some useful stuff that is born out of it. So that's front of house. Back of house, we have the production chef level 2. So again, this is for chefs working as part of the brigade. They'll cover things like kitchen operations, nutrition, legal and governance, and due diligence. Again, working with people, the business and commercial aspects of that. Again, looking at sort of waste management or pricing up menu items. And of course, there's a section in there about personal development. The senior production chef is same sort of topics, but again, sort of higher knowledge. But obviously, there's some stuff built in there around team leading and supervising staff. The endpoint assessment for this is just the on-demand test, practical observation and professional discussion. Again, both programs take 12 months with an EPA of 3 months. Now, you notice they don't have the business project, and that's because during their time on program, evidence will be collected from their vocational trainer of all the sort of dishes that they've created over time. So they'll be taking pictures of the dishes they've created, how they've kept to within brand standards, evidence in this as part of a large portfolio. So they have a portfolio of work that they'll be able to present, not only for the EPA, but again, for their careers, if they want to present portfolio of work in their chefing careers. So that's back of house. Leadership management programs, as I said, we have the hospitality manager level 4, ideal for those in deputy roles. This covers leadership, customers, people, business, commercial, and then they have specialist modules depending if they're doing food and beverage, outlet, or kitchen. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. Someone who's a kitchen manager can also do this qualification. And then we have the new operations manager level 5, which covers things like business planning, project planning, management, financial practices, marketing. Like I said before when I introduced this presentation. The endpoint assessments for these are similar. Again, they do the on-demand test and professional discussion for both. With the level 4, it's 18 months with EPA of 3 months. The level 5, it's 24 months with EPA of 3 months. Of course, there's a variation here because these are the higher level qualifications. And we have the next steps section now. So there's all the programs that we have on offer at the minute. That we have obviously a lot more programs on offer, but these ones that I'm discussing with you today that are relevant to your organization. Hopefully I've helped explain a little bit about our delivery and what's expected in the qualification. In terms of next steps, BRG have a wonderful brochure, which Sarah's going to let you know where that can be found shortly. You can look at the brochure and look at the qualifications in a little bit more depth, and then you could submit an application for your staff member, which will eventually find its way to me once it's gone through Sarah and Hayley. I'm just checking on the times, Sarah, because I know you might want to share where that can be found.
Yeah, I can do that once you've finished up, Paul. That's fine. Okay. Don't worry. Yeah.
Okay. Well, should we use the remainder of this time with me for any Q&A from people? Then you can.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. So I'll show everybody where to find the brochure on Flow once Paul's dropped off the call. But yeah, has anybody got any questions about what we've talked about or anything additional? If you're feeling shy, you can pop it in the chat.
Hi there. In regards to support for people with learning disabilities like dyslexia, is that taken into consideration?
Absolutely. So we're quite proud that a little while ago we piloted a SENCO program. So people with learning difficulties or learning disabilities. Um, let's say someone puts themselves forward for a level 2 qualification and they have to do functional skills at level 1. If they've got a learning disability or learning difficulty, we will actually get them to do the entry level 3 functional skills. So they'll be sitting functional skills at a lower level. Again, that can be done at level 3 if they need to sit functional skills at level 2. This is optional. They may want to push themselves and do functional skills at that level. But we have a program where we offer additional support. So you'll get a qualified English and maths tutor for people with additional learning needs. And even just outside of that as well, we do have people that do struggle with English and maths at any level, even if they do or do not have learning disabilities or learning difficulties, or perhaps English as a second language. We always offer functional skills tutors to those individuals and additional support. And we can do reasonable adjustments as well. So we can draw down extra funding for that additional support. But during the examinations themselves, if we need to provide a reader, or perhaps the test can be paper-based instead of online, or provided a different colour paper, or additional time. Sometimes people get additional time, 25% extra time on the test if they've got some sort of learning disability, learning difficulty. So I've said this quite a lot, and it's true. I think apprenticeship providers probably can offer more support for people with learning disabilities and learning difficulties than most traditional education routes. So, and then they get their one-to-one support as well, not having to share a classroom with 30 other students. So, plenty of support.
Great question, thank you. Anybody got anything else they want to ask? Just for the purpose of the recordings, we're going to share this with all the restaurants. There was a question raised about, and I know it's not applicable to anybody on the call today, but are the apprenticeships available in Wales? Unfortunately, they're not at this stage. The way apprenticeships work in Wales is quite different. But I know that got flagged on the last call.
I should probably run through eligibility requirements as well. So obviously, the apprenticeships do have eligibility requirements. So people need to be over 16. There's no upper age limit. They need to work at least 30 hours a week, and they have to be a EU or UK resident for the last 3 years. And they have to have the right to remain and work for the duration of the program. So, for example, if they're on a 12-month program, their visa needs to last 12 months. We do functional skills initial assessments at the beginning. That's where we identify people that struggle with functional skills and what support that needs to be put in place. And we also do a skill scan. So if someone puts themselves forward for a qualification, we have a sort of skill scan, job chat with them, make sure that they're putting themselves forward for the right qualification. Otherwise, we have all sorts of people putting themselves in for all sorts of qualifications. So, all right.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you so much, Paul, for your time and putting on this extra session. Really appreciated that. I think we've captured majority. There might be one or two that we just need to send the video to. But yeah, thank you so much, and I'll let you go to jump on your next call.
All right, cheers, guys. Have a good Monday.
Thank you. And what I'll do just before drop off, I'll just quickly show you. 1 second. Right, can everybody see the Flow login screen here? If somebody doesn't mind shouting out yes, that would be great, because I can't see you now that I'm sharing this.
Yeah. Yes.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, so as a learner, if you log into your learner profile and then you hover over the menu on the left hand side, if you go down to where the library function is and then notice board, here you'll have a selection of different folders. They might not look exactly the same as my stash. You might have more, you might have less, but the one that we're focusing on for the purpose of this is the apprenticeships folder. If you click on that, and then there's an Elevate Guide to Apprenticeships, click through to download it, and then you'll get a PDF document that pops up that's got all the kind of core information about apprenticeships, how they work, what you need to do, bit of myth busting, all of that type of thing. So that's basically where you can find it. Okay. So what I'd suggest really is, off the back of the call today, is if you can maybe have a little look at that, have a little think about yourself, your colleagues, your other managers, and your team members, to see if you can identify if an apprenticeship would be a good route for you to go down. If it's a discussion you need to have with your team, obviously do that before, talking about what's available, how they feel about it, why they want to do it. If you feel it's appropriate, then obviously reach out to us in L&D. We do have an ld@baparanrestaurants.com email, which is a shared email for myself, Hayley and Scott in the people team. So if you drop us a message if you've got any of your team, if it's for yourself, if you just discuss with your ops manager to just make sure again that it's appropriate, it's the right time for you, and then reach out to us and let us know if you've got an interest in applying for an apprenticeship, and then we'll pick that up with you. In the meantime, if you've got any questions, again, you can drop us an email or whatever to anybody, any of us really, but if you use the L&D joint email, that will obviously help, because there'll be a few of us that can view it and respond. And that's it. So thank you very much for your time. I will now turn off the recording, and we'll see you again another time. Thanks very much.